which is the May building month. And just to give you a sense of all the cool things that we did during the beta program, the image on the left-hand side is one that was generated by Sai Aparna from our community. It was one of our weekly assignments through which we basically explored multimodal production. That is creation of images, etc. There's a lot more that we did. So this is just the beginning. There's a lot that we are planning within the community. I'm very excited myself as a participant come co-partner, co-adventurer, I would put it as that. So just follow along if this is the first time that you're coming to our community event. Others, hey, it's our gang. We're doing it. It's fun. Right? So here, what we are doing for today's session is basically we are going to build a project. Like this is sort of like one of my sample projects that I'm building to practice the skill of building very, very quickly when it comes to these full-fledged AI chatbots that help you code. So the particular project we'll be building today is how to basically take care of all the overload of information that we get when it comes to AI news, right? Every single day, there's something new coming up. There's a new model from China. There's a new tool from this company. This tool had some revamp. This is where the industry is headed. This is where, this new B2B SaaS company has integrated GenAI. It's too much, right? For me, it's too much. Like, every single day, if I spend time with news and then I go diving deep into each and every tool, it becomes a full-time job by itself. Now, I was lucky where I got to do this beta program exactly when I was in between jobs, serving my notice period, which is a thing in India. So I was able to sink in time, but I wanted to build something so that I don't lose this habit of learning. So this particular project is my home project to deal with all the news that comes out there and how do I focus my attention so that I'm able to read better. So I'm sure you will agree with the target audience here. I identify as an AI enthusiast. I'm semi-technical, I would say, not fully technical because I never coded before this. But GenAI is opening doors for me and I don't want to lose this enthusiasm, right? So how do I deal with the sheer amount of volume, right? So the main two lessons that I want to get from here is if you're somebody like me who hasn't coded before, how do you handle this? Because if you already know how to code, it's just an assistant. But somebody with a cold start like me, how did I get started? That's something that I want to talk about. And the other thing is, I want to introduce the concept of AI agents. If you were part of the beta program, you probably built like more tools, but now we're getting into how to build actual applications using AI agents. Because this particular app that I'll be showing you how to build is exactly that, an example of an AI agent. So any questions before we get started with the agenda? I'm going to quickly check if there are any questions. All right, perfect. Let's get started. So I really love the word vibe coding because that's exactly what I do. I like to switch on like some background music on my Alexa, like something to focus on. I put on my AC because it's hot. If you're in someplace cold, feel free to turn up the heat. I put on a blankie and I start coding. That's exactly how it is. Vibe coding. It's because I know just the basics of a language. Python is my choice. I know nothing about JavaScript, nothing about HTML, nothing about CSS. But since I come from product, I've been spending time talking to developers, right? So I found that this was a skill that I wanted to develop for myself, which is how do I build something that I can better conceptualize? So I want to help you find that. And for that, I basically, since I come from a product management background, I developed this mental model for myself. The idea here is, I can always go into these applications and say, hey, build me an application to do X. but it only builds sort of like a skeleton. It probably is not going to be a working prototype. And the more instructions you give, the better the application would be. But then when it comes to working with an application like Lovable, what I found is some of the prompting skills, yes, basically you have to use prompting skills, right? But the style of prompting is more concise. The window is smaller as compared to ChatGPT and other places. So I came up with this structure to help me give the right information uh, so that I can build better. So it comes with 5 different layers. Today we'll be trying out 4 layers, which is intent, architecture, intelligence, and aesthetics. And evolution is something very natural. Like it comes from how product development happens, right? You build something, you test it, and then you basically evolve it further. Like you stabilize something that is very, very small, build something very, very small, test it out, see if it's working. If it's something stupid, scratch it, move on. If it's something great, you not only ship it for others to use and for yourself to use, but you add additional features. So that is the evolution layer. So let's go deep into how we move from intent, which is what I'm looking to create, to a stage where I have a complete application that I evolve further using evolution layer, right? All right, let's start with the intent, right? If anybody is from user experience background or product management background, or even, you've been developing for a while, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The idea here is we can build anything under the sun, right? But that whole question of what we want to build is the real deal, right? And it can be very, very overwhelming. You know, uh, Today I have this amazing tool, Lovable. How do I use it? So this is where the very first thing that you want to do is nail what the problem statement is. Solve a problem. Like building for the heck of building makes no sense because then it's of no use, right? So try to solve a real problem, right? And when it comes to problems, basically come to it from an emotion standpoint, right? Is it something that is frustrating you as a user? Is it something that angers you? Is it something that has a blank that you're trying to solve, right? What I'm trying to say is if I come a little better with this, in this particular project, which is basically your news collector and distiller, the problem that I'm trying to solve here is there is too much information out there. What I want is to cut out the noise so that I can basically focus on key news articles that I can basically focus on to learn better, right? So it comes from the emotion of chaos, like overwhelm, right? So if I'm clear that I want to remove chaos, it automatically helps me design a better purpose. Clear? So what I'm trying to build is basically a news app that I can go to daily in order to learn what is the latest that's going on in the field and what I should be focusing on. Now, when I build the day one item of this is probably going to be a very generic app that anybody can use. But if I have to refine this further over time, I will probably tune it to my field of interest. Say if I come from B2B SaaS, I will focus on that. If I come from B2C, I will focus on that. If I come from education background, I will focus on that. Or if I come from fintech background, I will focus on that, right? So the first thing here is nail what problem you're trying to solve and what is the emotion behind it, right? So this is where I want you to bring up your particular LLM, okay? And you are going to, so this time round, I'm going to give you the prompts. Don't worry, I will paste this on chat so you don't have to worry about it. But when you redo this, remember, you are doing this with me. We are doing every step here. But what I want you to do is go back and try this by modifying the prompts further, right? So first thing we are going to do is we are going to decide what problem we are trying to fix, and we are going to decide who it is for. And then using our favorite LLM. In my case, it's ChatGPT at the moment. I sometimes use Perplexity as well. For you, it could be Gemini or something of that sort, but we are going to try that. Yeah. So this is the prompt. Sorry. So can you all please try and put this prompt into your ChatGPT instance? I would love it if one of you shares your screen and shows how you do it, because I'm sure you'll get different answers. I want to see what it's like. I would suggest please raise your hands once you're done so that I know that and we are ready to move to the next step. And this is time sensitive, so I would request you all to please come along with us. Let me know if you have any issues. Right? So if you are able to, okay, perfect. Apul, you raised your hand. Others, were you able to do it? Perfect. Meghna, Medha, great. Nilima, great. Sarita, awesome, awesome, awesome. This is good to see. Fantastic, June. Yep. Checking in. Who's left? Divya, were you able to do it? Nandini, Vinod, are great. This is great. Great. Fatima, sorry, Nusra, there you are. Others? Okay. So great. So I'm gonna also do this. Does anybody want to share their screen and show us what you have? Any brave soul? I've done this before in our workshop, so I know there are some brave souls here. Anybody just go and share.
I can do that.
Go for it.
I can do that.
I'll stop sharing.
A million things open, but sorry. So
Awesome. All right. So as you can see, this is pretty amazing. The idea here is each of you will have sort of tiny differences, right? But more or less, when it comes to partnership with your LLM, if you're able to add those two information, it actually helps you build out what the application is going to look like, right? It helped you define who is it for, what is its goal, as you can see, right? If you go down a little bit more, you can even see it has basically come up with core features, etc. Right? This is exactly what we want. And as I can see in this case, it got it right. So main thing here is we need a source that gets the news, right? So we have a bank of news. We want some sort of LLM, some sort of AI agent to basically filter the news so that only the ones that are most important is left. And then we want it to present the news in an easy to picture mode. And that's exactly what we have. There's a bunch of other functions or features that it may add, and that's fantastic. But the core of it is more or less the same. So how was that for folks? Easy to follow, right? Any project, this is step number 1. Yes, Marjorie.
No, sorry, I was trying to give a thumbs up. Sorry.
Perfect. I got it. Perfect. So if you do have any questions at this point, feel free to do so. So feel free to stop sharing your screen, Anu. Thank you so much for being brave here. Absolutely.
Thanks.
So that gives you a little bit of sense of how this works. Now we will go into the next step. So we got a PRD. Now, as you know, with LLMs, you can further tune it if you like a feature or don't like a feature, right? Next comes the next step. Varshini, did you have a question?
Well, no, Anwesha.
Okay. Just a thumbs up.
Thanks for asking. Yeah.
Absolutely. So now we know what we are building, and you're probably going to have a conversation with your LLM to further tune the features. We're clear on that. We're good, right? Anytime anybody comes to us for ideas, we are able to refine that. So The more conversation you have, great. You have a final set of features that you're looking for. The next step here is architecture. So, do we have any enterprise architects slash developers here who know what they're doing when it comes to architecture? Please raise your hands so that I know how much of basics I need to go into. Anybody who already does architecture or software engineering, looking at low-level architecture? Anybody? Oh,
I've
great.
been a
So now,
solution.
sorry,
I've been a solution
do you?
architect long back.
Okay. So,
I've been
Anu,
a
you
solution
happen,
architect.
great. So, Anu, you happen to be a few steps ahead of us. So, I am guessing that when it comes to architecture, you will have a better answer as compared to most of us in the room. So, obviously, the next step would be to add that sort of information into the LLM so that you can control that. But for most of us in the room, we've never done much of architecture. So where do we get started, right? That's a valid question. In general, what we understood, if I take a step back here, is don't worry about what's on the screen. Yeah. All right. So in general, as you can imagine, any system has a high level architecture of input, processing, or output. That's standard computing, right? So now, when it comes to architecture, how do you know what you're choosing for? So this is where I have a small hack for you, right? So we are clear that we will use development-wise the tool Lovable. So it's going to generate my code. So I don't have to personally consider what language the code is being written in, right? I don't have to consider what, um, say, for example, what language the front end will be developed in, right? Sometimes the back end and the front end and everything has different parts. Great, Lovable will take care of it, which is why I chose this particular tool. But I have to figure out, first of all, on the left-hand side, where my input is coming from, correct? I need information. So I can do three different things when it comes to that, right? What do we do typically for news? We go to a website. So I could technically try to get information from a website. How? I can even scrape that information out using a bot. Sounds a little complicated. It probably is and will definitely involve money. So I'm going to shelf it for now. Second idea that I did explore for this workshop is, can I call some APIs? Now, as soon as you heard the word API, you probably got a little shaky, right? And you're not sure how to get it if you've not done this before, correct? I mean, there are some great APIs. Say, for example, TechCrunch has its own API. Google News has its own API. Yahoo has its own API. And you can, of course, research it to end. But guess what? It probably also costs money in order to call some of these APIs. You can search for free APIs for sure. But let's solve for this using something simple. Guess what? I'm going to give you free credits for Perplexity in order to use its API. So for context, Perplexity is this great LLM that integrates search with chatbot. So it gives very powerful insights. So if I show you what Perplexity looks like, it's something like this. You can ask any questions and it will basically give you the answer. In fact, right now, if I search for, say, tariff, what it does is it actually goes into all these different sources. Like it has its own mechanism. You can read how it is. And then using LLM, it basically combines all of it together into something that's very comprehensive. I like it. It has a lot of information. Guess what? I can get news from it. So how you do it is, I'm going to share a link here. Post. All right. So guess what? Perplexity is doing its own hackathon. So if you guys, after you're done with this, you want to build something more and you want to actually participate in a hackathon, feel free to register here. I'm going to put the link on chat and I'll tell you why I'm encouraging you towards this. Right? If you come here, one of the things that it basically offers is if you register for Perplexity's this particular hackathon, it gives you $50 worth of free credits for Perplexity API. If you read this carefully, it's somewhere here. In fact, like once you register, it triggers like some action items on the right hand side through which you do it. And I'm gonna give you a peek of what I did in my own instance. Okay. I'm sorry for all the different tabs, but that's just me. Right? This is my own Perplexity. And if I go into my particular settings and purchases, right? As you can see with billing, I got $55 worth of credit, 5 because I already had Pro plus $50. So even if you don't have an account, you will get $50 for free if you sign up using that URL. You can do the hackathon, which I think is a great opportunity. And there's like a lot of prizes, but at least register and get the $50 because then you can set up your own API here and use it. Okay, so why did I do all of this? Why did I explain all of this and get you free credits? Because I've decided that my input is going to be on Perplexity API. So any questions till now about what I talked about, what the input is going to be? Please don't worry, no question is a silly question.
Anwesha, I do have one question, right?
Sure,
So,
sure, sure.
So this is something that we had been doing in our firm as well, and we were actually trying to create a news app. This was almost last year. So what I thought of, and this was kind of like a hack. Okay, so we went to every news feeds RSS feeds. So
Amazing.
every media
That
channel,
was the first.
right? So
Yes.
so what we did was, so if you are aware of, anybody else is aware, so what we do is that this is a bunch of these are a bunch of XML files, and then we convert it to JSON, and then we can use it so that obviously like RSS feed is a little I would say private, and that is why
Yes.
they can like refrain. The media houses usually refrain us from using them. But
Correct.
again, but then again, we could not launch the app because of some other external reasons. A few weeks ago, I saw this particular app called Lemonade, or I don't know if I'm sounding the name correctly here. So Lemonade application was basically using the RSS feed itself and then using text summarization on that. Now the question is that can we actually use RSS feed in this case, or do you think that it's a good idea for us to refrain from them? And then because again APIs are APIs is something that we have to purchase anyways, right? I mean, this is a hack that's obviously temporary at this point, but then what is it that we can do moving forward in the long term setting?
Oh, that's a great question that you asked. And I did try RSS. So for your information, I have tried RSS and I've found some good APIs as well. The reason why I tapped out on RSS was a couple of 1 year ago, I built something like this for my company. Back then, I was using even no code applications that were there at that point of time, right? And what I found was slowly they started choking and the workflow started failing because of the same reason, RSS feed throttling.
Yes.
So this time round, what I tried to do, so if you don't like this particular approach, there's another website. I talked about this in the last workshop, but for interest of time, I didn't include it here. There's a website called newsdata.io, which basically has these APIs available. So you can try out for free. That is, their testing APIs are for free, as you can see, like 200 API credits per day. But yeah. So there's a bunch of other websites like that. Now, if you go down the rabbit hole of actual applications out there, there are like Readwise, for example, is starting to delve in some of these problem statements, right? So, very soon anything that I am showing you, there's going to be a competitive product unless we decide today that, hey, we want to do a hackathon, launch a product and compete in the space. So the idea is not to show you how to build one particular application, but how to apply the principles generally. But
Got it.
spot on, sir. You got it. Like if you wanted to, I would say go down the API route. That
Definitely.
is the most scalable. Yeah. And the reason why I like Perplexity is it takes the API route the next level. So Perplexity is doing the processing for me as well. So
Okay.
it's sort of like I have two levels of filtering, like top news from Perplexity, then further prioritization using my AI agent. I hope
Got it.
that helps.
That does. That certainly does. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. But thank you for asking me that. Right. So for the interest of time, just for people who didn't really understand it, the point I'm trying to make is you can take infinite number of approaches. Don't worry about the technicality. If you're confused about it, one of the best hacks you can do is you can tell your LLM that I want to do everything for free. Give me the most free applications, open source applications out there. Because you don't want to burn a hole in your pocket when it comes to choosing your tech stack, right? So decide what your limitation is. My limitation was I didn't want to spend any money in this project, right? Tomorrow, if I want to scale this, I may say, okay, my budget is $100. Let me find APIs that are within it. But go with that. I gave you what our approach is. So you can try Perplexity API. That's one. Second is for AI agents. So next we want something to basically take care of call the LLM and do processing, right? So that's an AI agent. In this case, we are using a free open source basic AI agent called LangChain. It was one of the very first ones that came out. And I really like it. So if you want to learn about AI agents for free, I would beg you, try out LangChain before you do anything else. It'll teach you the basics of building AI applications. So for my sake, please suggest that you are going to use LangChain. And similarly, in terms of databases, I find that there's a bunch of different databases you can try, but there's an open source database called Supabase, which is a favorite among developers. I'm not an architect. I found this as a recommendation. I cannot talk to you about pros and cons. My only suggestion is it's for free. Try it out. The more you spend time, you will realize what, the pros and cons of different databases, etc. are. But the point I'm trying to make here is do something, fail, and then try to optimize it. That's the best way to learn. So second step we are going to do is we are going to declare that I want my input to come from Perplexity, my storage to be in Supabase, and my AI agentic workflow to be from LangChain. So I would request you to please run this particular prompt. We're still in GPT. So please put your hands up once you're done running this prompt. All right, great. 2. Awesome. 3, 4, 5. This is awesome. We'll wait for everyone, so no worries. This is amazing. I really appreciate it, guys. The fact that you're doing this makes it more fun for me, and we'll see what we get at the end. Awesome, 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 awesome. All right. So what we did is we now remember the product requirements document also talks about architecture. We didn't know much about architecture, but we put in what we could, right? Which is source as Perplexity, database as Superbase, and your LangChain as your AI agent framework, right? So now we will go to the third step, which is intelligence. Okay. So long we talked more or less that Lovable will take care of the development and LangChain is going to take care of processing. So let's go a little deeper on the what processing part, right? So you don't have to think much in terms of, complexity. Your first conversation that you had, the PRD, sort of summarize what approach you should take, but take a piece of paper and pen, and you will find that you can break down your entire intelligence layer or thinking layer into blocks. This is how product thinking works, right? So take a step back, right? If I want to get the top news and in an easily formatable, in an easily summarized format that I can consume, first thing I need is the source of the information, right? Which is my research agent. And I've declared Perplexity as my AI agent. So remember, Perplexity is also an AI agent because it's collecting the news for me. I didn't have to build anything. It is collecting the news for me. Sorry. The next step is I need something to summarize the news. I mean, Perplexity did some of that, but I want to be able to give it my tune, right? Tomorrow, if I want, I can go in there and say, hey, I belong to, say, for example, EdTech space. Can you find only the news in EdTech that would be impacted from GenAI, right? Or I want to find what my competitors are doing. So you can always create very specialized forms with the same application, which is why I want a separate block AI agent called summarizer, which will summarize according to my requirements, my prompt. And then third, I need the signal filter agent, which will filter out anything that is too much and give me the top news. In fact, I can set it, I can tell it, give me 10 news per day, not more than that. So what it will do is it will basically prioritize the news in order and then give me the news, right? So how do I build this? The idea here is when I give the PRD, right, I can basically create a separate prompt that outlines exactly this. You can write it in full sentences. In fact, you can even upload this image, like create a block diagram using some sort of a paint application or something and upload it. But your LLM would be able to do that, right? Great. So now we know how to create the processing. Now, I'm not going to tamper with our current prompt simply because the intelligence layer was already built in the PRT. So I was pretty happy with the PRT that I got, which is why I'm not giving you a separate prompt. But in case you want to modify this further, you can do that. So any questions before we move to the actual building part? No?
I do.
Time. Okay.
I
Yeah,
have one. So
sure.
in the area where we have written signal filter agent, could we also tag the priority based on the news preferences? So let's say if I'm creating a news application which I just need, let's say, news based on geopolitics or world politics or whatever.
Yes.
So can I just
Yes.
like put that priority as well?
Absolutely. So this is the bare minimum. That sort of goes into my evolution layer where later I'm going to basically add another agent, which then groups it according to different news. So
Okay.
absolutely. This is the bare minimum. Over time, the idea is you iterate and you find out what more features that you want. And they can evolve into separate AI agent blocks in
All
your
right.
AI agent diagram. Absolutely. That's a
Got it.
fantastic question. Glad you asked, because I'm sure others had that question too.
And also a little follow up on this. So let's
Sure.
say if I don't use I mean if I use the traditional route, right? Let's say using newsdata.io and then basically getting all those APIs and everything, right? So let's say if I
Mm-hmm.
want to modify that API, right? So let's say if I
Mm-hmm.
need to modify in terms of the language in which I need the news, or let's say the country for which I need the news and stuff like that. So do I also need this kind of a filtering in my LLM? Like, should I do that as an additional thing, or should I just like skip it if I do have a dedicated API?
The thing is, okay, so you're going a little bit into the architecture part, which was beyond the scope simply because most people are not at the level that you're in. I would say, can we come back to the question at the end? Because I think there are a few approaches by which we can do that.
Definitely,
I can see
definitely.
that here. Yeah, because I can basically add an agent that, I can add a UI that helps me tweak all these different parameters, right? And that can change my API. That can happen programmatically, and that can happen via agent as well. Like, why do I want agent for everything, right? So
Right.
there's different approaches by which you can do that. It becomes a deeper architectural question.
Okay.
So if you're okay with it, we'll come back at the end.
Definitely.
Yeah, awesome. Any other questions before we move on for the intelligence layer? All right. So now we are ready to build, right? So, as a product person, and I'm sure I know at least one UX person who's attending this particular meeting, and a bunch of other product people. So I'm sure you agree with this. Aesthetics play a big role, right? We want the UI to be as minimalist as possible, so it's not overwhelming for me, right? It needs to be intuitive. It needs to be like something that I can do very, very fast, right? So guess what? Yes, we are doing Lovable, and congratulations, it already takes care of a lot of that. But if you want to really make sure that is something that is there, you actually can build it into the particular prompt. Like, this is where I'm going to give you the third prompt. So we are ready to basically develop prompts for Lovable. So the idea here is, at this stage, I can further tweak it in terms of UX. I can basically talk to my LLM and give it instructions. I can be to ChatGPT, I can be like, make sure that this is something that is minimalistic in nature. It maybe uses Web3 application level interactivity and minimalism, etc., etc. I'm sure the product managers and the UX people know out of that. But now the main thing comes in terms of, how do I convert all this information into Lovable? So this is where I'm going to take you into Lovable. Anytime you start a new project, looks like this, right? You're somewhere here. You basically give it instructions and it launches a project. And you need to put in some prompts. Well, guess what? If you simply start coding, you will make the same mistake that I did, which was that I ran out of credits. So what I mean by that is, if I come back to here, you will see that Lovable offers 5 free credits for me. Okay. So as you can see here, 5 free credits. So I have to make sure that at least for the first iteration, I have to give enough information so that I can build at least something. I can always pay for more, right? Or I can, come back tomorrow and do it again. But how do I get bang for my buck when it comes to this? Because even if you pay, Lovable has a very small prompting window. And I want to make sure that that's the right approach. So this is where I'm going to give you the third prompt that I used. And I'm going to explain why. Okay. Sorry for that. This is the third prompt. So what we are looking to do here is, if I take you to this particular URL, guess what? Lovable has its own style of prompting. Okay, has to be very short, and they have a certain structure that goes with it. Okay, guess what? When I'm doing it the first time, of course, when I come back later, I can learn more, spend more time reading its literature. But my friend ChatGPT has a way to basically take care of that. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to use its web search capability. I'm going to say, hey, you are an expert, right, in developing apps in lovable.dev. I'm going to build that particular project. Can you do it with the least number of prompts possible? I have 5 credits, so I can only use 5 prompts, right? So for reference, this is the style in which I want it because I don't want trial and error. If I simply gave it this much, ChatGPT would give me something that maybe does not work for Lovable. So I'm going to give it this reference website that I showed you for reference. And I also tell it, also feel free to search on the web to find effective strategies and template format, right? So please go ahead and run this prompt as well so that we are ready to go. As before, put your hands up if you're done. Perfect, Meghna.
So whatever you have listed in the chat, that's what we copy and put it, or?
Yes, please. Yes, please. It has 3 different things. You're telling it now to build the application, to build prompts for Lovable. Then your prompting library, like the reference structure, and you ask it to search for more. So please copy and paste it.
Okay.
Yes, you can enable for search. It makes sure that it kickstarts it. But nowadays with ChatGPT, I've seen if I put it just as it is, it automatically does so. I would say enable search. Doesn't hurt.
Okay.
Go for it. Yeah. Great question, R, by the way. That's exactly what we have to do. Harshini, amazing. Nusra. Perfect. Nandini. Great. This is great that you're building alongside me. Hopefully, we have 9 minutes. We'll be able to generate at least the first cut. And then I'll leave it so that you can tweak it. So if you guys are the people who are done, I would ask you to now open up lovable.dev and register if necessary. This is what it looks like because we're ready to move to the next step. And we'll wait for others to finish. All right, 8, 9. Awesome. 11. Just a few people left. All right, 12. Okay, awesome. Just checking in. Divya, are you good? Sarita, are you good?
Yes, Anwesha, we're good. Thank you.
All right. So hopefully what you saw in your LLM is you got 5 different prompts, right? Congratulations. They are your starting point, right? So if you want, you can go ahead and use the very first prompt, or I'm going to leave what my LLM gave me, all right? So this was my very first prompt that I fitted into Lovable. I'm going to put it on chat again. Feel free to use your first prompt that you got from your LLM, or you can copy and paste this one. And what I would suggest is come into lovable.dev, right? If you log in, there's like this nice box. You can come and paste it here and upload it. And it looks something like this. Well, congratulations, you're building your very first application. Everybody put your hands up if you've run this and you've kickstarted what's the whole processing. It's going to take a while, but at least let's start that. All right. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody with any questions before I show you what I got when I ran this? I ran one instance of this before so that I could show you. Any questions? All right. So while it runs, I'm going to show you what this looked like for me. I'm going to come back here and yeah. So this was my first cut. So it's going to obviously look different for everyone, but more or less, this is what you would get, right? So something like this, you're gonna see sort of the landing page, right? You will see buttons for sign up, login, so you have a sense of what it looks like. And ultimately, what it's going to do is create sort of like these cards where it shows you what the news is. And if you click on read full summary, it will ask you for login. So you can put all these cards inside and outside. I mean, it's going to give you something very generic, but this is where the next steps come. You basically give it further instructions to tune it. But if you see, the very first instance itself is pretty attractive, according to me. And that is the value of coding with an application called this, right? To give you a sense, you could very well be coding using, say, ChatGPT, right? I've been basically, where is my project? I was basically coding before this. I was building an application for a blog that I was writing. This is how I typically vibe code. I like to build an entire application. Hold on. Like I was basically asking my this thing, and I built this using completely ChatGPT, right? I gave it what I was looking for. I got code, but it is only because I know how to run this IDE. This is pretty overwhelming, right? And I'm not a great coder. But when it comes to something like this, hey, it built something this beautiful, and that also within one prompt. Obviously, this is not working yet, as you can see, right? There are certain images that are not loading. The login system is not up to date yet. This is where what you have to do is, remember, you got the 5 prompts. You can then go ahead and put the next one. So the next one for me was basically about setting up that brain layer, the intelligence layer we talked about, which is LangChain. I'm going to come here and I'm going to put it here. So that now we are actually building the backend of this, which is the AI agents part of things. So this is what vibe coding looks like. You give it instructions, it builds something, and then you modify it further by giving it more instructions. So for your benefit, I'm going to put this on chat again. In fact, I'm going to give you the third prompt that I have as well. And you will see that over time, you can basically, this is an ongoing process. What I mean by that is this is doing something. It will then, work or not work, and I will give it more instructions. So this is how vibe coding works. You got an idea of what I'm trying to build, but the more I talk to the LLM, the more it's going to build something. And guess what? See, it's writing functions right now, right? It gives very good errors. It even gives me instructions, like you can see here, right? Connect to Superbase. If you click on it, it gives you detailed information on, what Superbase is, how to set it up, right? And all you have to do is just connect to Superbase. And it will let you, set up your account in Superbase and, just connect it. And this application, like Lovable itself, will even set up what the database schema should look like, which is basically the underlying code for tables and everything that will drive, right? So I don't have to worry about it. It does it. And that is the benefit of coming to a tool like this. Like, I don't have to, like, if this was even 2 years ago or 4 years ago, I would have to know how to architect a database, right? How to execute scripts, SQL scripts, right? Enter data, know how to call an API, have to know JavaScript, have to know HTML, CSS, which is why we had all these different jobs in terms of coding, right? Separate jobs, because you needed to be expert in one area. But guess what? The next era is going to be about super productive developers, super productive PMs, super productive UX people, right? Where we should be able to build full stack. Now, why is it that I, as a product manager, I'm learning how to do this? It is because tomorrow I may not be building enterprise level applications that many people will run, but I should be able to build a working prototype, which then I can show to my team so that they can enhance on it and, change the architecture or whatever. but at least I should have a way by which I can put my concepts into words, which are prompts, and from there turn it into something actionable, which I can then share with the team, which is actually functional. So, any questions on what we are trying to do? Like, you ran some of this yourself, you will see what output you get. And I would suggest go back and chat some further with Perplex using the 4 other prompts that you got. And then feel free to IM me. I'm part of the community, as you know, and we are building together. So ask me any questions that you run into, and we can basically level up together. So questions?
Hi, Anwesha. Thank you so much and actually showing it hands-on. This is so useful. I had a small question that the
Sure.
follow-up, the second and third prompts that you used have to be very specific with what we see, right? I cannot use what
Yes.
prompts, like I have to first explore and try on
Yes.
my what I'm getting, and then based on it, my second or third would get built. Am I right?
That's absolutely right. You're spot on. So what I typically do is if I have my chat GPT and actually I'm going to pull up my old object code. I think I had it in my other instance, right? It gave me these 5 prompts. Okay. Then what I did is based on what I got from the first app, like the issues that I was seeing, like login page is not working, right? Or I know that this part has not been done. So I basically said, hey, looks like the intelligence layer is not working. This is my, remember the blockchain, the block diagram that I had for AI? I wrote it in words. It should have 5 different functions. It should fetch the data from Perplexity. It should filter, it should summarize, it should contextualize, and that data needs to be stored. So it's available for 24 hours so that I can load it. So I wrote that in words, became a prompt, and I said, can you like, I didn't write the whole thing. I said, make sure it covers fetch, filter, summarize, contextualize, and store. Then basically GPT updated the prompt for me, and all I did is I copied and pasted it. This is the final prompt that I got. So again, I saw that the sign up was not working. So then I wrote the third. I told it, hey, sign up is not working. Can you give me a prompt? So yeah.
Okay, so if I've understood one, I'll check on the app whatever it gives first. That's one thing I'll check.
Yes.
The second thing is also verify with what my existing requirements are, if those are getting fulfilled or not, and then again
Yes.
remind it. Okay, that's good. Yeah,
Correct.
like I was
Correct.
curious as to if there is a checklist or a thing to
It
know
isn't.
what all things I have to check, right? Like to be sure of, right? Like to test and then build my
So,
prompt. What if there is any aspect like
so
that?
guess what? You can actually have GPT do that for you, right? You can give it a prompt like I since I'm building first time with Lovable, what is the checklist that I should test so that I make sure my app works, right? So if you want everybody run this, this is going to be very handy. There you are. Like whatever problem I have, I found that the best solution is to paste it. In fact, there's going to be a time where you start getting error messages. I just copy the error message and I paste it on my chat GPT and say, can you fix this, please? I see this error. So yeah. Right? Nandini, I think you had a question first, right? And then Nandini? Go ahead, ask your question, please. Did you have a question? Okay, great. No problem. Nandini, go ahead, please.
No, I had it. It was my mistake. Yeah.
Okay. No worries. So any questions? Any questions on this? Yes, Nusra.
Yeah, hi Anwesha. Thank you very much for the insightful workshop. You are back.
Yes, I'm back.
Yeah. I was building an app or a game for biology using Lovable.
Nice.
Yeah. Actually, with no coding. uh, I'm doing it now. It's about 3 days because I'm waiting for the free credits to come.
Yes.
So
How do you
my
fix that?
question is, you said there will be an error message, when we sometimes
Yes.
run in the Lovable. So, and
Yes.
in the Lovable app itself, it shows try to fix it. So, is it
Mhm.
good to press that button or going back to
Yes and no.
ChatGPT and
So it depends on the number of credits that you have. It
okay.
totally comes down to it. So I'll explain why I say that. I'll show you my project. So before I came here, this was my prototype that I had, right? It was great to use like some of the functions that I had here for the longest time. I kept using this, but I was using up my credits really fast. Like it was already 3 days at that point of time. What I found is that at some point of time, it kept giving me the same error. Like if you see, uh, everything's working, there is no news here because something on the data side is being is the problem, and you will see how many times I've asked the same question. So at some point of time I found, like you can see I
Yeah,
gave
I
it like this is
experienced the
the error
same.
that I got.
That's what,
Yeah, it goes into sort of a
yeah.
recursive mode because there's only so much you can do. So this is where this goes into the next level, okay? Which is I can basically, if I want to make changes to the code, first thing that I need to do is I need to integrate this with GitHub. You don't need to
Okay.
know much. This is the place where the code
Yeah,
lives.
I did
It
that
will give
too.
you, yeah, you did that too. So
Yeah.
this is where if you want to make further changes, you can actually go onto GitHub one. Okay. And
Yeah.
your chat GPT again becomes your friend. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll give you the example. In this case, I know that there is some issue with the API calling itself. And I fixed some of it. Okay. I went into Superbase, I changed some edge functions and all of that. So it does give you like the ability to go into what the function is. And instead of using the LLM of Lovable, so I don't end up using credits, I could very well edit this function, right? I can go in here and I can basically, check the function. This is the code. I can make changes if I want here and test. But how do you make that? You copy and you paste the entire thing into ChatGPT
Yeah.
and you tell it what the issue is.
Yeah.
So those are some ways to overcome it. This is where you don't depend on just Lovable. You use a partner LLM to do so.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Right? I hope this was useful. This wasn't supposed to give you a picture perfect project, but to get you to use Lovable for the first time if you've used other applications and try and build using the steps that I mentioned. So over time, we will get perfect, right? That is the whole idea. But till then, this becomes the starting point when it comes to this. That's the whole idea. All right? So keep following us. There are some other great workshops that have already happened. Watch those recordings, and watch the others. The whole idea here is let us experiment so that we find which tools work, which tools don't, and then we find what our favorites are. Right? It's an evolving space. We take it from there. With that, thank you so much for giving me your morning and evening. This is me signing off. You know where to find me. I am on the